finally. Hello everybody, welcome to Cracking Yolks podcast, YouTube and other things. Hello everybody, welcome to Cracking Yolks. This is our first ever podcast. It's been long overdue. I'm really happy to be here. I have been talking about doing this podcast for a long time. I can't really believe I haven't done it yet. It's something that's been on the back burner for years. I've always wanted to do a podcast about food, farming, all the things we do. And I used to do a bit of dabbling in comedy work and things like that, and that was fun. So my comedy work used to actually take precedence, and I never had time for the podcast. So it's been a long journey, a long time starting. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Aveling. I am a farmer, a big lover of food. We produce a lot of food. It's the kind of thing I'm a bit obsessed by. I had a shop in Cambridge for years, selling our own meats and produce from local farms. Over the years, what else have we done? I've been a chef in restaurants, which we ran. We owned the local village pub and we turned it into a restaurant, as well as multiple times I've done things like chef demonstrations and been guests on podcasts and things. So I've always had food at heart, but I never actually started my own podcast or online blog or anything like that. So recently you may have noticed we've been starting a few things on YouTube, trying to keep on top of our videos, trying to give you a sense of what we do at the farm. So yeah, I've got my partner Vicky. She works on the farm with me as well, and we do a lot together. So it's quite the project. I wanted to sort of touch base today, say hello, and talk about one of our new projects that we're doing. So we this has also been another big work in progress. For years, we've dabbled in websites. You might have used us before in the past, whether you bought through our online shop from Cambridge, or you sort of dabbled in the nationwide version of our postal service or things like that. They've never really, sometimes they work well and other times it didn't work quite as well. And we've been trying to iron them out a little bit and work out what the best thing is to do with this huge platform that we've got now. I mean, I'm getting on a little bit now, and so you're thinking back, when did I start? About 2016, 2017, we started really pushing online, and I don't know, the world wasn't really necessarily ready for it yet, was it? And so we thought to ourselves, just carry on doing what we're doing, keep pushing along and doing stuff like we do. I've just realised I haven't switched. Can you see me? Right, I've got a little light. Hold on. Oh Christ, it's a bit bright. Turn it on. Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah, turn it down a little bit. I think that's a bit better. Don't know, light this ugly mug up a bit any more than it needs. So yeah, so we've been trying to sort things like that out, but this is very exciting. We are trying to produce a website that you can order from anywhere in the UK mainland, ordering our produce from the farm. It's going to have everything from the farm you can think of. So all our cuts of the free range pork, our own home reared goat, our own spring lamb that's coming through. We're looking into getting the beef cattle ready for market. We're looking to start our free range chicken operation back up again, all hand plucked. And that's something that when we used to have our old shop, a lot of people really enjoyed. So this is really exciting time for us. Never has there been such an opportunity to get online. So I don't know what anyone else thinks of it. We're going to be launching very soon, and it'd be really nice to have you guys on board, and I'll be doing more about that as time goes on, really. So that was just a little bit about that, really. So I don't know what else you want to know. So we have a farm. Our farm's in Northamptonshire, if you don't know us already. It's a mixed farm. It's always been a family farm. We've done a lot on the farm for years. So we have our own pigs, goats, sheep, Some parts of our family have cows. We do arable and stuff like that. So that's always been a really huge part of what we do. And so you can also stay at the farm. We do glamping as well. So we've always tried to keep the farm going by doing different things. And so the new online store is definitely something to do with that. So yeah, I mean, that's really what I wanted to talk about today, was just sort of talk about the new projects that are coming through initially. But I don't know, one thing I would like to talk about a bit more would maybe be the reason why we do, the camera shaking, the reason we do what we do. So let me think. For years, we have been doing what we do on the farm for, the same ways, traditional ways. And we've always looked for ways, for a better word, to change, diversify, develop, survive is, a big part of it. And it's been a real tough challenge. I mean, farming, if you've seen Clarkson's farm or anything like that, it's a really, really big deal at the moment. People are just starting to get their eyes open as to what's happening. And if you're not familiar with farming, it's a very interesting, different business. Most of the time, farmers aren't necessarily as rich as you'd think. I mean, a lot of farms have a lot of asset, but there's not necessarily any actual cash coming into the bank. So farmers are always looking for different things to do, different options to try and keep their farm really without having to sell it. So I'm just trying to think the best way to put it. We always wanted to do something completely unique and different with the farm. And it's really, really hard because over the years, people generally, until things like Clarkson's Farm have come out, haven't necessarily realised the pitfalls in farming that there are. So creating products that you're told what the price is and not you decide the price. So for example, you can produce pigs for a supermarket or something as a large farm. That's the kind of thing you can do. And you're usually just told what they are that week. And quite often it could just be that you're making a loss. It's all to do with market pricing, and that's always been really, really hard. So like you can grow a whole crop of wheat, be brilliant quality and things like that, and then like you can have something happen that creates uncertainty and it shoots the price up. That could be good, but most of the time that doesn't happen. It usually shoots the price down, and then you've got a crop that one year could be worth more or less than it was the year before, and you can never necessarily plan anything. It's all a game of survival. It's pretty intense. So every podcast has to have some content. Sorry, my equipment's falling off the table. So every podcast has to have some content. I'm not just going to be on here just to spiel how great we are and sell my produce, which obviously, redbullfarmshop.co.uk, shop now or soon. But I think that it's important that I use the podcast to sort of do something a bit different every time, maybe talk about things. So yeah, I think that one of the biggest things in the news at the moment would be how farms are struggling. And I don't know, there's a lot of, it's hard to sort of say. Like, I'm someone that's always been in the middle. So I see a lot of farms at the moment who are really, really sort of militantly pro-farming, and rightly so. I get what they're saying. And you see a lot of people like Caleb, who are from Clarkson's Farm, who are doing a really good job at promoting British farming. But as someone who wasn't from a farming background myself originally, I've been doing it now 20 years, but I wasn't born in a farming sort of family. I can kind of see it from the other side, in the sense that sometimes people just are in a different world and you don't see it. And it's really, really difficult. Like when you go into a shop and you're shopping for your family and you're trying to do your best, I think it's very, very easy to be completely distanced from the producer, from the person that makes the food that you're buying or where it comes from. And actually, if there's really someone, I would say, who needs to buck their ideas up. It's not the customer and it's not the farmer, it's the people in the middle, it's the supermarkets. And I think that something we always battled against as a farm business, as a shop business for years, was the supermarkets. We were always blessed with customers who thought similarly to us and were who were going against the grain and realising that the supermarkets were selling what was best for them and not what was best for you. And that was really the trend that was it's been happening for decades now, and it's become the norm, and that's the problem. So it's really, really difficult to just, how do you put it? Sitting here just blaming the supermarkets is one thing, but why? Why would you blame the supermarkets? What are they doing when you think that they give you the best deals, everything under one roof and stuff? But actually, forget necessarily the product. Just think of it as a one sort of whole picture. Like, if you're into the sustainability issue, supermarkets could do so much more than they are. In fact, most businesses only go down a sustainable route because a lot of the time it would be because it saves them money or something like that. Very, very rarely does a business go, look at what I'm doing to save the planet and it's costing me more. More often than not, they've cut out some packaging from something, which actually means they're not buying that packaging anymore. So, like, let's say you put every single one of your croissants on a plastic tray in the supermarket, but then they found a way of bagging them up without a plastic tray, and suddenly they're sustainable heroes. And I think that's the problem. We're all told a story. We only see what they want us to see. And on the farm, you get a really good chunk of that dealt to you because you never know, like, what things are going to cost. You never know what you're going to get paid for a product that you make. There was something recently in the news with Jeremy Clarkson. He said something like about a loaf of bread, and there's a huge amount of money in the middle of that just disappeared, and no one knows where that money has actually gone. So there's a huge problem in the middle where a lot of the price is taken away from you, the customer, and like us, the farms. And actually, we've always, on this farm, tried to do our best to sort of cut out that middleman and do both of those things, but we're just so small and it's contributing to the problem. And actually, it's a really, really difficult thing. So what I would say is that, the camera's shaking, and he fell over. What I would say is that if there's a way you could get into or see your local farms and things like that, it really does actually make a nice difference, so you can actually get an idea of where things come from. That's quite cool. And there's open farm Sundays and things like this. But it's not just farms, it's just products in general. And it's really, really difficult as a consumer to know what you're doing is right or wrong. And more often than not, the right option is the more expensive option. And, everything costs so much these days. It's really, really hard. So I would say one of the key things in the news at the minute has been trying to promote British produce, British farms and things like that. And that's really, really important. But it's hard to know why you should when you're, like I said, out of that bubble. I mean, why? I've seen some farms who are a little bit over the top with it. And you feel a bit like, some people will think, well, we don't owe that farmer a living, he's got a choice and things like this. And that's a really difficult angle, and it's a completely true angle. I mean, just because I want to keep our family farm going with our own produce doesn't necessarily mean I'm entitled to it. And, times change, but we try and be honest and open and try to produce something at a price that's fair and also gives you, a customer, a value for money. And I think that's what most farms are now trying to do. But once you're at a certain scale, you're sort of tied into supplying the big guns. And that's when you really, really struggle with the pricing of things. And then people vote with their feet. So if people want a certain product, they buy it. And if they don't, they don't. And if you're the person that produces the product that they don't want, you fall victim to it. And it's no one's fault, apart from somewhere in the middle, it's gone wrong. I mean, I've always said milk, for example. I've always thought to myself that milk should be, well, at the minute, most farms, dairy farms, don't make a penny. That's actually pretty much a fact. Most dairy farms just do it every single day for nothing. they might get the bills paid, but no dairy farm, let alone most farmers, are making a minimum wage. It's a well-known fact. You could just go and get a minimum wage job and be better off, like, wage-wise, but that's not necessarily what farming's about, because it's a tradition and it's something that farmers want to keep doing, because we know we do something that's important and that we enjoy being part of that sort of chain in the community. But yeah, I, for example, think that the basic food products should all cost more than they do, and we're all used to paying less for them. And so the second anything creeps up to the price it's even worth, we don't realise that's the case, and we think it's really expensive. Yet stuff we don't need, lots of things we don't need, are silly money, and we don't even seem to question those things. And our relationship with what we spend on food has changed so much. I think there were some facts and figures that our disposable income, let's say in the 70s, I mean, don't quote me, but it's something like that, was 50% of our disposable income was spent on our food, whereas now it's something more like 7%. And because all that's happened is supermarkets have driven the price down to meet demand, and we've all got used to it as consumers. We know, this costs this much and this costs that much, and actually in your mind a certain thing has become quote unquote a cheap product, and actually that could be further from the case, because someone somewhere is losing out. And actually, if we all bought local, sustainable quality from our local farms, butchers, fishmongers, bakers, the price would naturally come down at those establishments, because they'd be busier, be able to afford things more, be able to plan for the future, be able to do sort of a better job and invest. Because, most of the time, any small business owner is not necessarily looking to get rich. They just want to earn a living. A baker gets up at silly hours in the morning to make bread overnight and doesn't even know if they're going to sell it the next day, because it costs £1 more a loaf, despite the quality being 20 times better. It's a really difficult one. What do you do about it? What can you do? Me sat here with the microphone is not going to change anything. One of you listening to this or watching this might think to yourself, do you know what, actually next week I'm going to buy something from that guy of YouTube or whatever, and buy some of his meat. And that's amazing, and it's lovely that you do. But it's one of those things where if we necessarily, it's really sort of just change something small all the time, you do start to realise that you do make a difference. But when supermarkets or huge establishments are shipping things from everywhere, it really negates the things we try and do on a day-to-day basis, because it just feels like you're wasting your time. Like, what's the point? I might as well just buy that thing because they are. And, so it's a real problem. So supermarkets, in my opinion, have the power to change these things overnight. We all shop at supermarkets, myself included. I can't, I have to buy toothpaste and things. I can't make that myself on the farm. So we're all sort of stuck. And overnight, supermarkets could start going, do you know what, we're going to pay these farms a bit more for their milk. And sorry, sir, your milk will cost you 20 pence more a bottle. And I guarantee there'll be a bit of annoyance at first, but suddenly the milk source will be more reliable. You'll get more farms in this country wanting to produce milk because there's a viable product there to be made. The fact of the matter is our countryside is going to get things took away from it because farms are going under left, right and centre, because it's not necessarily a viable thing. Whether it's meat, produce like fruit, vegetables, anything like that, it's not just meats, it's products that vegans and vegetarians enjoy will be gone, because there'll be no farmland left if there's nothing viable to produce from them. And that's a really sad thing. I think that there's often disjoint and confrontation and conflict between farmers and, say, like the vegan community. And actually I don't necessarily think that there needs to be. From when the years we had a shop, we had a lot of vegan customers, and they were never judgmental about what we did. In fact, they understood what we did as a farm, and we do it right. They just chose to not buy meat products, and I just think to myself, that's absolutely fine. There's a difference between vegans and activism, and some people just do it just because it's their choice, and that's fine. And I just think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Whereas a lot of the time you do see there's quite a campaign against farms or campaign against vegans and things. And I think, why can't you just all coexist? We all need to be facing the same direction for this to work. If we are all, just picking fault with each other, and actually really what's happening is the problem is the supply chains. The problem is the supermarkets, or the large, huge corporations that have never set foot on a farm that grows vegetables or set foot on a farm that, rears pork. They haven't really got a clue what's going on, and they don't understand that these places will be gone. And their answer is, that's fine, we'll just get it in from somewhere else, and that's even worse. So what happens is, in this country, we produce the highest welfare like meat products. We sell the highest quality fruits, vegetables, and everything that's produced here is highly regulated and incredible, and it's got that sort of British stamp on it. And what happens is, the second we're like, well, we can't afford to sell it for that price, or it's not available, supermarkets go, that's fine, we'll just ship it from somewhere else. And I don't know so much about the vegetable side of things, but what I do know is about the meat side of things. When it comes to that, you can have something like, we're a small producer, so we don't have things like Red Tractor. We're not large enough for that. But a lot of farms will have Red Tractor schemes or something like that, which ensures a certain level of welfare. And that's a very high level welfare. So if you choose to not buy meat through a producer like myself, but you want to go into a supermarket, that's what they're trying to show you by buying British. You're buying an idea, or you're buying a scheme, if you like, that there's people there who are ticking boxes to make sure that the standards are all kept. The second you ship it in, just because you want to spend £1 less on a joint of gammon or a pack of bacon or even 50p or whatever, quite often it's not even necessarily cheaper. The supermarkets will just import Danish bacon, Dutch bacon, or any animal products from abroad, New Zealand lamb, for example. Supermarkets will pay a damn sight less for it as well. And they'll charge you nearly what we would charge you as a British product. And the standards are terrible. Like, I think our lowest standards in this country are still middle to high standards in others. So that's the problem. Other countries just go, whatever, we do what we do, and that's fine. But because in England, Britain, the UK, we always adhere to these rules to the letter and do a brilliant job, you're punished for it because people can just go, it costs more to do it that way. So that means that the British stuff's a little bit more expensive, so I'll just buy it from Denmark or something. It's just unbelievable. Shouldn't be allowed. I agree with there being a choice, but this is sort of going back full circle what I was saying, that you don't know this stuff, you're not told this. So when you're buying the other products in the supermarket, it could be when you want to buy, I don't know, what's something that's grown a lot in this country, like potatoes. Let's say potatoes. There's a season for potatoes, and it should all be British potatoes. But actually, you say, well, these are going to be foreign potatoes, and that's fine. But there's tons and tons of English available at the time. But I'd rather pay a little bit less for that. But you are thinking to yourself, it's a price market, and you're saying to yourself, well, this pack costs £1 more. Potatoes are potatoes, and that's fine. But if you're looking down the route of trying to be more sustainable or trying to look for the answers or the information, you're not told what's different about that. You're not told the fact that there's a huge amount of carbon footprint added onto that. Food miles, possibly sprays, pesticides and things that are banned in this country are possibly being used on those things. That's the problem. You're not told that on the packet. And here at Radmore Farm, we're trying to be really transparent with everything we do. And as a business for nearly 20 years, that's really been our selling point. The quality of the food's always shone through, and we're so lucky. We've got such great customers who've always used us for years, and still do to this day. And we're lucky enough that we've had customers from day one who still use us, which is amazing, and we love that. But they always sort of got to know us and got to meet us, and we've always kind of said this stuff to them. I mean, years ago, historically on the farm, sort of before my time, was all the foot and mouth and things, and it ruined the pig industry. And and that was a huge, terrible time. And there's also BSE for farmers a long time ago. But I remember there's a story that my that my wife told me when I first sort of met her. Like I said, I sort of stumbled. I came onto the farm. I wasn't born on a farm, and she said to me, the farm used to supply supermarket abattoirs, so the pork would be sold to, let's say, Tesco's, an abattoir that was linked with Tesco's, and I think it was Tesco's. Who I don't use Tesco's because as a company when it comes to farming, they've never been very good, so I didn't really use them since this. But they would know how much the farm, they would know how much it cost the farm to produce a pig. Let's say, for argument's sake, it costs the farm £80 to produce a pig that's ready to be slaughtered and made into the product, sausages, cuts or whatever. Supermarkets would know that because they know the price of the feed at the time, and they knew that the farm had to get rid of them because quality and size is like a big thing. So if you have a pig that's too big or the wrong shape, size, weight, fat, anything, supermarkets go, nope, don't like that, dock your money. So it has to be perfect for their standards. So supermarkets would know this, and so they would know on all those bases and all those numbers it would cost you, let's say, £80 to produce a pig, and they'll go, well, they've got to go this week, we'll pay you £70 a pig. And this was becoming common practice, that supermarkets had such a hold on farms, a monopoly on farms, that they could just say what they thought they wanted to pay for them, and the farm had no choice. They were ready. They had to go on that trailer that day to be taken to the abattoir, to be sold to people in supermarkets. And when people go into the supermarket and buy their meat, and they're buying British meat in this case as well, and they're doing the right things, and they think they're doing the right things, and what's actually happening is supermarkets are just taking all that huge amounts of profit. So when you're buying something you think is a reasonable price, actually it is a lot cheaper than it should be, but also the producers got paid next to nothing for it. And Tesco, as an example, or supermarkets in the middle, have taken all that profit from it. It's all gone. By using someone local to you, like a farm or a butcher or even like a small independent farm shop or something like that, that's all gone. That's all taken away. Chances are, if you're buying something there, it's boosting the local economy. The guys who work in the butchery will live locally. The people that even live in the slaughterhouse where it was slaughtered will live locally. You don't transport animals very far, so the slaughterhouse won't be very far away. And it all makes a huge, huge difference. So I don't think people realise how much difference they can make just by making informed choices. I'm not going to say don't use supermarkets because that's impossible, but supermarkets don't give you the full picture, and that's half the reason there's the problems there are with the food chain today, and we don't even realise it. We're just part of it and it's normal. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Hope you enjoyed that. One thing I wanted to discuss with you is the idea of recipes and sharing food recipes and things like that. Something on this podcast I wanted to do would be some live cookery demonstrations and some food chat and things like that. We're also hoping to get guests on. So if you know of anybody who might want to come on here, or you might want to come on yourself, I've got all the means we could set interviews up so we could have a good chat about stuff. I mean, I'm pretty obsessed when it comes to quality meats. I've also got my own dry aging chamber, so I'm going to be back straight into doing all the charcuterie cuts and things that I used to, and some not any commercial smoking, but some more homemade type smokery kind of things. We could do some of that. There's a lot we can do. If you're interested in anything particularly, or was anything you want to know about the butchery side of things, we can do that too. I can discuss those. Any questions are pretty good. That's the kind of thing I was hoping this podcast could bring to the forefront. So sort of a good link for anyone interested in food. So like you might be interested in how something's produced, and we're a producer that do field to fork. So, we've always had full control of our supply line from rearing it on the farm to dishing it on the plates in the restaurant or our own bakery where we make our own like pies and things like that as well. And like I said, I've done charcuterie things in the past where we used to make our own like pork copper and chorizo hoops or chorizo hoops, however you want to say it, you know, that kind of thing. And that's really, really interesting. A lot of people find that very interesting. So this podcast really for me has a huge amount of potential. It's a really good way to keep in contact with you all as well, because it's something that, since we don't have necessarily a shop anymore where I used to stand in, day out, it's hard for me to keep the contact with all of you guys, you know, like we used to. And this, hopefully you'll be able to sort of put a face to the name, really. We don't want to be a faceless corporation. We hate that. So we quite like the idea that you might want to message us or at least know who we are, which is really, really, you know, nice, isn't it? You know? So hopefully we're going to be expanding this podcast massively, doing more, centered all around the farm, all around food. But a lot of the time we're going to be putting things on the YouTube channels and social media. So it'd be really cool if you subscribe to YouTube, because I'll be putting all of these on there as well. And as well as that, we'll be uploading these podcasts, you know, so you can listen to them, whatever, in the car or wherever you listen to your podcast. This will be, if you're listening to this now, you obviously have found them, which is really good. So yeah, it's a optimistic time. I'm really looking forward to it, and I shall do a special short one when we launch the new site, so I can give you a bit of an insight as to what we've got, how it works, how you can order, and also if you're a subscriber to, you know, these forms of media, we could definitely do some sort of discount code. So, you know, we you know, want to promote loyalty from you guys. You know, there's no point you being invested in us without it working both ways. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. It's nice to be back in like the framework, selling things in a way like we used to. I mean, I was always obsessed with, you know, hanging the beef for 3 weeks and cutting the pork up the right sort of ratios for the mince and the right ratios for the sausages and things like this. I still make all the sausages by hand. That's something that's always been done. I got a little hand turn crank machine thing that I do it with, and we use natural casings and things. So that's always really been at the forefront of what we do. I mean, we were always quite big on sustainability, and one of the things we try to do on the farm is look at our carbon footprint. And so where we can, we don't really buy in any made food if we can help it. We make our own hay off the fields, and obviously where the animals can, like we even, like if we sort of like prune trees or anything, just sort of out the way, we collect it all up and feed it to the goats and stuff like that. If you know me, please feel free to pull me to one side when you see me and tell me what you think. And if there's any sort of, I don't know, what's the word? If there's any, like, my brain's just gone blank. If there's any subjects, that's it, or any content that you're really, really interested in, whether it's food or recipes, anything we cook with on the farm, or you want to go, you know, deeper into any of the issues that farmers face, or you just want to chat, anything, you know, I'm here. Just send us a message. It'd be great if you subscribe to the channel, and it'd be great if you shared this with your friends, especially if you're into food. It'd be really cool. Because like I said, this is just the start. I mean, I'm going to be making some recipes. We'll put them on the YouTube channel, and I might sort of talk along, you know, that kind of thing. So there's loads going to be happening, and I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be really, really cool. I mean, you'll be well impressed with some of the things I'm going to come up with. The fact that it's all been, you know, reared here on the farm by us, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for listening, and I can't wait to do another one. Speak to you soon.